In this video, we're going to demonstrate rotating an object. And in this case, we're going to rotate Biker 2 on the stage. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click frame number 1 on the Biker 2 layer on my timeline to make sure that the biker is active. Then, if you're still on your library panel like so, you want to switch to the properties panel, which is grouped along with the library panel. And on the properties panel, look for the rotation section. First thing underneath the rotation section is the rotate option, and you'll notice by default you have rotate 0 times. The number 0 is highlighted in blue and underlined. There are two ways you can set this number. If you float your mouse pointer over the number, you'll notice the mouse pointer changes to a pointing finger with an arrow on the inside of it. If you hold down the left mouse button and then drag to the right, that actually increases the number of times the object will rotate. Dragging to the left takes the number down all the way to 0. Now, obviously dragging to the left takes your number all the way down to 0, and you can't go any lower than 0 in this case. But again, notice if you drag the mouse pointer to the right, that increases the number of times the object will rotate. Now, an easier way to increase that rotation and get the exact number you want is simply to click on the number itself and then type in whatever number you want. In this case, I'm going to type in the number 1 and hit my Enter key to let that take effect. Now, I've set the rotation to rotate 1 time. The other thing I'm going to change here is the direction. Notice with my direction option, if I click the arrow to the right of direction, I have 3 choices. None, clockwise, which is the default choice, and counterclockwise. For right now, I'm just going to leave it with the default choice, clockwise. And I'm going to click frame 1 of the movie just to make sure that everything's set back to the beginning. And I'm going to hit my Enter key on the keyboard. And you'll notice as I play the movie, I'll play that one more time, the biker rotates once in a clockwise direction. Now, another thing I want you to notice here, if you look at your timeline on the Biker 2 layer, notice that all of the keyframes have disappeared. This is because as the biker rotates, the biker is no longer oriented to the path, because you can't have an object rotating and oriented to a path at the same time. The act of rotating the object automatically moves it away from that path, so the object can no longer remain oriented to the path at that point. And that's why all of the keyframes have disappeared from the timeline in this particular example. Just to show you how you can continue to modify a rotation, I'm going to click frame number 1 on the Biker 2 layer again, and I'm going to change my rotation from 1 to 2. So I'm going to type in 2 in the rotate box and just hit my Enter key to let that take effect. I'm also going to change my direction from clockwise to counterclockwise. And I'm going to play the movie again by hitting the Enter key on my keyboard. And notice this time the biker rotates twice in a counterclockwise direction every time I play this movie. Alright, I'm going to go back to frame number 1 on the Biker 2 layer. And notice my keyframes are still gone at this point. But I'm going to change that. I'm going to click my Orient to Path checkbox under the rotation section of my properties panel. And I want you to notice something. As soon as I click the Orient to Path checkbox, look at your timeline. Notice all of my keyframes are back. And I want you to also notice that under rotation, rotate automatically got set back to the default 0 times with a direction of none. That's because my object is once again oriented to the path. And if I play the movie at this point, you'll see the biker moves from left to right, oriented to the path in this document. And at this point, I'm going to save my work. That is a demonstration of rotating an object in Adobe Flash.